All right, good evening, everybody. For the record, Thursday, October 22nd, 2020, time for the regular meeting of the Wenatchee City Council. We always start with the pledge to our flag. I don't know, under turnsies, maybe Councilmember Huffaker will lead us all the way to the left.
Pleasure. Please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilmember Huffaker. And for the record, we have all 7 council members with us this evening, in person and with masks. We have quite a group of consent items today, which includes the agenda, the vouchers, and the minutes from previous meetings, a couple of contractor projects to confirm and approve, and then a resolution designating me to sit on the board of Rivercom because Councilmember Esparza is going to be out of town and Councilmember Harold's going to be unavailable. So with that, I would entertain a motion.
And I'll make a motion to approve the agenda, vouchers.
Which includes the agenda, the vouchers, and the minutes from previous meetings, a couple of contractors, projects to confirm, approve, and then the resolution designating me to sit on that.
Someone's watching YouTube.
Yeah, so if you guys are on the line or watching on YouTube, if you can mute your phone because we get quite a bit of feedback. Thank you.
I'll try that again. Your Honor, I make a motion to approve the agenda, vouchers, and minutes from previous meetings, as well as a motion for the City Council to accept the work performed by the contractor J&K Earthworks on LLC on the North Wenatchee Stormwater Project Phase 1, project number 1617, and further authorize the mayor to sign the final contract voucher certificate on the behalf of the City of Wenatchee. Also make a motion for the City Council to accept the work performed by the contractor Central Washington Asphalt on the 2019 Pavement Preservation Project, City Project 1901, and further authorize the mayor to sign the final contract voucher. And lastly, to approve resolution number 2020-32, designating the mayor as an ongoing alternate voting representative to the Rivercom Administration Board.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Huffaker, second by Councilmember Hornby to adopt this evening's consent items, which include this evening's agenda, the vouchers, and the minutes from the previous meetings, to accept the work performed by contractor J&K Earthworks, LLC on the North Wenatchee Stormwater Project Phase 1, project number 1617, and further authorize the mayor to sign the final contract voucher certificate on behalf of the City of Wenatchee. Also to accept the work performed by the contractor Central Washington Asphalt on the 2019 Pavement Preservation Project, City Project 1901, and further authorize the mayor to sign the final contract voucher. And also to approve resolution number 2020-32, designating the mayor as an ongoing alternate voting representative of the Rivercom Administrative Board. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Tammy, you make sure that resolution gets over to Rivercom. Thank you. We have 3 action items this evening, and then we have a public hearing regarding TPA funds. So, Mr. Erickson, looks like we got something regarding an appointment to the Parks Commission and then a grant application.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Dave Erickson, Parks and Recreation Director for the city. First item we have is we're requesting approval of Resolution 2020-29, which would appoint Luke Hedke to the position 6 of the Arts Rec and Park Commission. He's a local accountant, just moved back into town, and a former Wenatchee Wild player. We've got a copy of his application in the packet, and we'd recommend his appointment.
Any questions for Mr. Erickson? If not, I would entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I will move to approve Resolution 2020-29, appointing Lucas Hedke
Yep.
to position 6 of the Wenatchee Arts, Recreation, and Parks Commission with a term expiring December 31st, 2021.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Esparza, second by Councilmember Cuevas, to adopt Resolution 2020-29, appointing Lucas Hedke to position 6 of the Wenatchee Arts, Recreation, and Parks Commission with a term expiring December 31st, 2021. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
And RCO RTP grant, David?
Yeah, so our second item is a requesting that you approve Resolution 2020-30, which would authorize the application to the RCO, which you guys are familiar with. We've gotten a lot of grants for them. And this is for a partnership project with the Chelan Douglas Land Trust to do trail maintenance on city properties as well as land trust properties. Reason why the city would be involved is because the land trust needs to have something in writing basically that says that it's okay that they do this work on city property. So land trust is providing all the match for the project. What they would be doing is hiring a contractor to regrade some of the trails to make them more sustainable into the future. So if they're successful in the application, that would happen in 2022. So it's a couple years out, but it's the start of that process. By partnering with them on the application, it's also going to help strengthen the application to the state. It just shows that we have a better partnership. Also, before the meeting, we handed out a handout which shows some of the former partnership projects that we've worked with the Land Trust on, at least since about 2002 or so. Pretty good history. And at the last meeting, the Arts Rec and Park Commission, they recommended moving ahead with the application.
Is this in the same bucket of programs of the other stuff, or they have separate money for maintenance at RCO and through the state funding?
Yeah, this is a separate bucket from most of the ones that we've applied for before. So a lot of the ones we've gotten are either Washington Wildlife Recreation Program, local parks, or urban wildlife habitat grants.
Okay.
This is a recreation trails program account. So it's similar agency, different pot of
Different
money.
bucket? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, any questions for Mr. Erickson? If not, I would entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I'll move to make approval of resolution number 2020-30, authorizing application to the State Recreation Conservation Office for a recreation trail program grant.
Second?
Motion by Councilmember Harold, second by Councilmember Bailey, to approve Resolution 2020-30, authorizing the application to the State Recreation Conservation Office for a recreation trail program grant. Discussion?
Just a statement. I hope you guys get it. There's a lot of work that needs to be done out there.
Yeah. From the man who's up building them, right? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, David.
Thanks, everybody.
Who's doing the code enforcement? Oh, there's Glenn back there.
Well, good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Glenn DeVries, Community Development Director. We have before you Resolution 2020-31, asking for the reappointment of Luis Gonzalez to the Code Enforcement Board for an additional 2-year term. His current term ends in December 31st of this year. Currently, we're down a member, so Mr. Gonzalez is doing a great job. And we dearly need to maintain at least 4 members on the board, so we're requesting approval of that reappointment.
Any questions for Cliff?
How many, just 5 on the,
Just 5, yeah.
oh, okay, I guess I would had, in my mind, I had that being a lot larger.
So if anyone has connections with a member, constituent who has an interest, we'd love to have another member, but would also like to retain Mr. Gonzalez, who's doing a great job.
Yeah, great. Well, Your Honor, I would make a motion for the City Council to pass resolution number 2020-31, designating the reappointment of Luis Gonzalez to the Code Enforcement Board for a 2-year term ending December 31, 2022.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Bailey, second by Councilmember Cuevas, to adopt Resolution 2020-31, designating the reappointment of Luis Gonzalez to the Code Enforcement Board for a 2-year term ending December 31st, 2022. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Glenn. So we have a public hearing this evening. For public hearings, we will first hear from staff. Staff will give us a presentation. The council will ask questions of staff. We'll then turn it over to any members of the audience. It's my understanding we might have a couple on the phone this evening who would like to comment on this particular item, and then we'll turn over to the council for whatever action they may be willing to take. So on behalf of the city, Executive Services Director Laura Merrill. Laura, it's all yours.
Good evening, council. The item before you is the adoption of ordinance number 2020-29, which is related to the assessment rate on the lodging businesses located within the tourism promotion area. The rate is currently at $1 per room per day. The recommendation is to increase it to $2 per room per day. The TP area was established in 2006 and it since has not had an increase. Per the allowed legislator, they're actually allowed to charge up to $5 per room per day, but the committee, the TPA committee discussed it at their last regular meeting and felt like the $2 was a conservative amount to help continue the program. The additional funding will add to some of the advertising dollars as well as add some unallocated revenue for potential new events in the 2021 year. The current budget is around $200,000, or at least that's what the expectation is. And then we're thinking that with the $2 increase, it would double to about $400,000 for next year. That's about it. If you have any other questions, I'm happy to answer those.
Your Honor, I will recuse myself on this item.
All right, thank you, Linda. And so this went through the TPA boards. This is obviously put on by the user groups, which are basically the hoteliers who approached the TPA and said, we're interested in adding to the advertising budget. Please add $1 a room to all the hotel nights that we sell and then spend it in accordance with the RCW.
Who's our current rep on the TPA board?
That'd be Travis, I think,
And I.
and Ruth.
Okay. I was curious. I mean, I was expecting this to happen a long time ago because I've noticed that most cities you travel to have been $2 for quite a while. And I was curious what their reluctance to go to $3 was.
I think at one point they were sort of thinking of $1.50. So I think, at least for the group, going all the way to $2 was probably a sort of a bigger jump for them. So, you know, I think it takes effect, what, January 1? So, or I don't know when it takes effect, but.
I think we'd have to submit it and then you submit it to the Department of Revenue and then.
Okay, and then they
it
got to
goes through
wait.
the
So,
process, yeah.
yeah.
But more than likely by early next year.
Yeah. And I did spend some time talking to Frida once I heard about the proposal coming to us. So she and I had a lovely chat in the front room. It was a lovely chat. You don't have to laugh about that,
I
Frida.
thought it was a beautiful chat,
Yeah, it
and I
was.
appreciate it.
Just to make sure that we're all looking at it sort of the right way. I mean, you can spend this sort of exclusively on advertising if you want to, and I think they want to increase some of the advertising spend, but there's a bit of a wider look in terms of TPA dollars. I think the state legislature has sort of expanded a little bit of that, and so we may look at our code and adopt to the RCW a little bit and give us a little bit of a wider look at what some of that money can be spent on. I think maybe some stuff with tread and trails and those sorts of things and stuff for the downtown and other sorts of ways to look at it. So I just wanted to make sure when I talked to Frida that if we took a wider look at it, that the hoteliers would be okay with that, and she seemed to think they would be, so.
And this is Frida. And I do appreciate the conversation, and we had a conversation at our meeting with a lot of options that we would like to be able to do. Everybody is well aware that the lodging /restaurant, which helps portion them, is being very decimated throughout the U.S., and Wenatchee has taken the biggest hit with the least amount of recovery. So we know that we need to sell our destination. We have beautiful things, but everybody needs to see it, and we would like to really be able to put it out there aggressively, as you said, with treads, and we have outdoor recreation, and we have all these other areas, and we're going to basically be, we think, about $50,000 down from our original forecast for this year. So we want to come out of the gate swinging to remind people that they need to be in Wenatchee and enjoy, and then all the other features that can happen. So with this, it gives us, we've talked about it for many years about changing it. We felt it was comfortable and we didn't want to do it, but we think this is the time to do it for all the other elements that should happen with it.
Thank you, Frida. Anybody else on the phone that would like to address the council on this public hearing item?
How do you do that?
Just start talking. We got you.
Oh, okay. Hi, Mayor Kuntz. This is Jerry Barkley with the Wenatchee Valley Chamber of Commerce. I was trying to hit my unmute button, but it still acts like it's muted, so I apologize for that.
Oh, you sound great.
First of all, I want to say I'm appreciative and very grateful that you're considering raising this assessment. Can you still hear me?
Yes, we can hear you fine.
Oh, perfect. Okay. I think this is a courageous and wise move at this time for the tourism industry that it has been hit so hard. And at this particular time in the Wenatchee MSA, the people that are unemployed in the hospitality industry represent 33% of those that are still unemployed, which is 2,500 individuals in our community, and that's the Wenatchee MSA. That doesn't include the big guns in tourism that are in Chelan County, Leavenworth, and Lake Chelan. Our region added over 200 hotel rooms in 2019, and we're slated to add over 400 in 2021. And we have experienced substantial investment in this industry, including trails by Evergreen Mountain Bike Alliance and others, Omi Gardens, Rocky Reach Dams Visitor Center, and Mission Ridge, just to name a few, that have invested heavily in 2020 and going into 2021 will need our support as we look at heavy competition from even within our own county in attracting tourists. So every community throughout the state is tempted to see tourism and look at the tourism buckets of money and want to allocate that to other things. And I hope that we are working together and can support the regrowth of that industry locally. We support the plan suggested and brought forward by Laura and strongly support a strategic plan being developed in early 2021 that will take us 5 and 10 years into the future and do it wisely and spend this money wisely. So again, very appreciative of the opportunity and look forward to working together on supporting this industry. Thank you.
Thanks, Jerry, and thanks for all your work at the Chamber and related to the advertising and working on making sure we get tourists coming to our town and making sure people think of Wenatchee when they think of destinations to go to. So thanks, Jerry. Any other members of the audience wish to address the council on this public hearing item? Seeing and hearing none, I will then turn it over to the council for any action or further discussion.
I just wanted to make one comment about it. I mean, this is something that the hoteliers decided to do a long time ago, and it's made a huge impact. And the reason I ask about why we didn't go to $3 is it's been $1 since the program was put in place, and I know the cost of advertising has gone through the roof. Mm-hmm. So, you know, this is almost like your cost of living. There has not been a cost of living for this board in quite some time. So I'm glad to see it going to 2, and I think maybe in the future it should be discussed to go to 3, again, so that we can be very competitive in a pretty hot market.
Okay. Any other comments?
Just a question, either Keith or Ruth. Was there any particular opposition to it from the hoteliers?
I have not heard of any.
Was there any particular opposition or resistance to the raise from the?
I wasn't there at the last meeting, but I've never heard of any opposition to going to 3. But
I mean, on the grand scope of thing, when you look at your bill, it's the smallest item on your bill. Yeah. Believe me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I just made some reservations today. Yeah.
An extra $1 isn't going to kill anybody.
Yeah. I think starting conservative, though, is a good approach.
I don't disagree with that.
Your Honor, I make a motion that City Council adopt ordinance number 2020-29, specifically relating to the assessment rate on lodging businesses located within the tourism promotion area, certified at WCC 1.108.020 from $1 per room per day to $2 per room per day.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Hornby, second by Councilmember Huffaker to adopt ordinance 2020-29, specifically relating to the assessment rate on lodging businesses located within the tourism promotion area codified at WCC 1.108.020 from $1 per room day to $2 per room day. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you to the council. We
You
do
bet.
appreciate it. And that one question that you did have, the majority of all the hoteliers were definitely in favor of the change.
Excellent.
Thank you, Frida.
Thank you, Frida.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
You bet. So, mayor's report. I've got a number of small little items that I will probably bring up as I look at my calendar and figure out where I've been. And I did have a nice meeting with Kenny Sturgeon at the museum on Tuesday afternoon and the chairman of her board. So, as you know, they've adopted a new comprehensive plan that does have some discussion about capital improvements to the building. So they're going to be looking to us a little bit, I think, to maybe help them on some things. Obviously, we do a lot of the major maintenance in that facility. So we had a nice conversation. But nothing for a budget item yet. They're just sort of looking and working with Aaron and Alyssa on some items. So did that. What else did we have going on? We did, I do want two little sorts of things. I did have coffee with the library again this morning, and I think there's a chance that we'll be moving forward on, they just put a couple $1 million in that building, and they think they'd like to own it. And so we're considering some way of getting them ownership in the building. I don't know exactly what that looks like, but some concept where they would go ahead and own the facility. It'd be different for them. They don't generally own facilities, but they've got enough invested in that one. We'll put some handcuffs or some warrants around what they could do with it if they ever sold it. Probably has to stay with a museum, or excuse me, a library inside the city limits or some form of that. So we'll work with staff on what that sort of looks like. I think from our facilities folks, that's a big heavy lift, and they get called lots of times, and air conditioning units used to break, and to sort of get that off of our ledger and onto somebody else's probably makes some sense. So we'll be having a conversation about that. We did, I mentioned it to the Finance Committee this morning in Public Works. I have been talking with Steve Wright at the PUD about, some of our LRF funding. The LRF funds have to be spent between the railroad tracks and the Columbia River, the Cascadian Fruit Shippers Building and the Town Toyota Center. I think we have about $3 million left. The last time we discussed it, they were really excited about the underpass at 5th Street and thought that would be a great way to spend some of that money. We sort of agreed to hire some folks to help us think about what that would look like. They have since came back and asked if, first question was, could they actually spend it inside the PUD park system? We went back and looked, and the map is clearly from the railroad tracks to the river. And of course, they have a lot of property that fits that description between the railroad tracks and the river. And so he and I walked the area sort of between Pybus Market and maybe 5th Street, just the trail in and around the new hotel and up through the railroad tracks and all the stuff. And I don't know if there's not 40 or 50 pieces of artwork that are in there, different little sculptures and stuff. Maybe 5 of them were placed in a way that if you looked at it, you would go, someone gave some thought to that. They put a little mound behind it. They put a tree. It looks like you're supposed to stop and spend some time, thinking about it and looking at it. And a lot of it just sort of looks like someone had a piece of art and just stuck it right over there. The fence, and like it or don't like it, the fence has stuff growing on it. And so if you really want to see the river, it's really difficult to see the river. River probably should be something you want to take a look at. There's lots of what I call trees of heaven growing over the top that block your view. There's the where Lineage used to get the water out right by John McQuaig's old building. There's that pier that sticks out, but you can't walk on it. Maybe you should build the pier so you can walk out onto it. I mean, he would like us to work with him on hiring some architects. We split them, landscape architects, to look at that sort of stretch and see what sorts of things that we can do to make it better and more appealing. It's something that I think their board's excited about. So just something for you all to think about whether or not, they've asked us to sort of put a pause on doing an RFP for work at the underpass and consider doing something that would enhance the park area. So Laura, I think rightfully so, said, that is really one of the nicest places in the park already, and should we be doing something from the Pybus Market towards the Black Bridge, which is an area that is sort of a mixture of the road and the trail sort of coming together. It too is overgrown. There's really not any lights. There's not any sort of delineation in some spots. So I think the thought was part of this study would be we throw a little bit of money in because the PUD doesn't want to do that. Just look at it clearly from the Black Bridge through to 5th Street. I think Rob and the team seems to think that if we had a plan together that something along that stretch would score really well through one of our grant programs to make that part that is clearly not very appealing to the eye and probably not very appealing to the walkers and runners, try to make that better as well. So I think trying to make a look at a holistic approach on that. So I'm not asking for approval today. I'm just telling you we're having those conversations so you guys can sort of think about if that's a spot where you might be okay spending some of that money. I don't really have any other ideas on where we would spend it, quite frankly. We were looking at the Lineage property. We've got what we wanted out of that, which was the water right, and the rail spur will go away. Private developers buying the property, so we're out of that deal. I don't know of any other places to put it. And Brad's pushing us pretty hard about, that money needs to get spent. So anyhow, just some things for you guys to think about. No, I don't need any answers today, but just we'll talk about it again if that's, but we'll work on some sort of a deal and bring it to you maybe the next month or so. I know we've been trying to get.
What's the date that it has to be spent by?
2 years ago.
Well,
Yeah. The auditors aren't pushing us that hard. Our view of the world is make sure you get the right project. So they're not pushing. I think we had 3 years from the time we bonded it, right? We spent a bunch of it. We bought the land under the Pybus Market. We did some work on where the Hilton is. I mean, we spent a bunch of it. We got another little underpass project we're doing. I mean, but I still think after all of that, we still have close to $3 million left. So we need to sort of get it out there. For the Housing Authority, I know we've been looking for a position. We did contact Armando Bendito. You guys know Armando, Teresa Bendito's brother. He has agreed to serve, so you will get something probably in the next month or so for Armando. Be good for him to get involved in the community, so he was excited to be asked. Laura, help me with more stuff. Sales tax came in today, so you'll see that in your emails. So we're holding steady. I think
Looks good.
August was just slightly up from August of last year. So seems like things are sort of steady. I was on a phone call with the governor's office earlier this week, and the mayor of Kennewick, Eastern Washington mayors, and the mayor of Kennewick was asking about, they have an arena similar to our town Toyota Center, about when that was going to open so they could have hockey and fans. And I think the answer was not very soon.
It was what?
Not very soon. Those bigger sort of indoor events with that many people were a long ways away from having that opened up in a way that I think that the governor's office feels comfortable about. So, yes. Oh, and I forgot. I even wrote it down. So we got a lovely plaque from the Association of Washington Cities Risk Management Services. Jim, do you know about this?
Mm-hmm.
We got a 2020 Safety Award winner. So, yeah, so congratulations to our staff. Miranda does a lot of the legal stuff on that, but all of our staff people making sure that we're safe. It was interesting. We got this on the same day we got our notice of our 4% increase in our insurance bill. But, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but that's okay. So congratulations to staff, and I'd hang it up, but I can't really hang it up. So thanks, Laura, for reminding me on that. Council members,
Well,
anything for
Your
the
Honor,
good?
just make a quick comment on that. Last Tuesday was the annual meeting of the RMSA. Of course,
Okay.
everything was, we didn't have dinner and things. It was just a 1-hour meeting, actually about 40 minutes. But various categories of awards for cities that do well or do better or whatever. And so if I remember right, I think it was, we had reduced our claims or risk by 2% or something.
Oh, good.
So I am the butt of a lot of jokes when I, from that agency.
Oh, I bet you are.
They
yeah.
never fail to bring up the sex crimes.
Sex rings, yeah.
Trials and so forth. But at least we're famous for something.
Yeah. But you know what? That group treated us well. We went over and got some Town Toyota Center money when we were spending all the legal fees that
Yeah.
they didn't have to do, and they treated us well that day. So they've been good partners to us.
And I'm proud to serve on that board. I think, it's a really, it was when I went on it 10 years ago, it was kind of shaky.
Yeah.
But we've got a really good board, and it's in very, very good, sound financial
Yep.
position right now.
And we deal with, I can't remember the gentleman's name that helps us all the time.
Harlan?
Yeah, Harlan. He's wonderful.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Yeah.
In fact,
super good
he's
guy.
the new director of
Director,
RMSA.
okay.
Adrian has taken another job in
Okay.
California, and so was put in there. So he's really a quality guy.
So for the council members, we have what they call pre-litigation services. So anytime we think something is close to a legal issue, we can get Harlan on the phone. He works us through it, helps us make sure, is it something we're taking care of internally? Do we need to have outside counsel? So we have a very open dialogue with them regularly, and they help us really do a great job of limiting our risk. So he's been a great partner. And at one point, we were one of their largest insured. I don't know if we still are or not.
And we still are.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when we call, they bend over backwards because we pay the largest premium because it's mostly smaller cities, right?
Oh, really?
So we're the largest city, so we have the most value, so we probably pay the largest premium into that pot. So,
Is Yakima not in
so a
there?
lot of times the bigger cities will go out and hire a separate insurance company.
Huh.
They won't join the pool, right?
Gotcha.
So,
As far as the RMSA portion?
yes, as far as the RMSA stuff, yeah.
In the really big cities, they self-insure. Seattle and Spokane. So.
Yeah. All right, council members, anything for the good of the order?
So from the chamber, sorry,
Okay, go ahead.
as we saw with sales tax, everybody seems to be doing pretty good. You know, we're getting used to the new normal and hanging in there. Shiloh did mention your negotiations with her. And
Yes.
sounds like that's kind of ongoing.
Yeah, I think I don't know that we've really heard back. I talked to Shiloh yesterday on the phone, but I think it was mostly around the TPA stuff and less about the contractual amount. Shiloh gets paid and the chamber gets paid with hotel motel tax dollars, not necessarily sales tax dollars. And so hotel motel tax is down. We had thought it was going to drop a lot. It's actually not dropped near as much. We're probably at about half of what we had anticipated when we did the budget last year. And those two pots really go two places: the convention center, which we use and try to keep up, and the chamber for destination marketing and the things that they do. And so as those have both dropped, we sort of asked both of them, and on the convention center side, we're not paying the debt as fast, right? We had hoped to get paid off so we could go out and do some more improvements. So we're after slowing that down. So we've asked the chamber to take sort of a corresponding slowdown in payment as well. I think down from maybe 480 to about 400 or something like that, somewhere in that range.
The number she mentioned.
Yeah,
And
they also get some TPA dollars. So that TPA money, I think they get money for that. And I think that the hope was in the budget, it's not a lot. I think it's close to $12,000 they get because Jerry helps set the advertising, that we thought that number would like double. So she'd go from 12 to like 20. So that's TPA dollars that would get to the chamber and try to help them. So I don't know whether the chamber approved the contract or not. We haven't seen it, but that was the last conversations we had with them. That was probably a month ago.
Yeah, no, it was more just a discussion about needing to discuss it further.
Okay, yeah.
you did enlighten them on a lot of things with the debt service and things like that, and there was good discussion about that. So I think it was very helpful for you to explain that to them.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, there's two entities that are splitting that pot.
Yep.
And it's up to this board to figure out what's the best way to split that. We want to support the chamber. I think bring in the chamber and the Visitors and Convention Bureau together to take city tax dollars and membership dues, which I pay into at my CPA practice, and take that pot of money was really the right thing to do. And I think it's worked really, really well. We're just in a spot now where that revenue source is not what we thought it would be, and we have decisions to make. And I think we've had some good conversations with the chamber. My guess is we'll get an agreement at some point. And maybe we do it and look at it again 6 months from now. I sort of think this is going to be around for a while. There's nothing that I've sort of seen that indicates that Linda is going to have a 500-person convention anytime soon in the convention center.
Don't say that. Don't
But
say
you can
that.
do smaller ones and things can,
Yeah.
and so I think it's going to be a while before you see those numbers again. And so we're just trying to make sure we're looking at it in a way that's in the best interest and trying to, so my guess is we'll get an agreement at some point.
Yeah, and just, I mean, it was a very positive discussion, so.
Yeah, good.
The other thing that came up was the report from the port with the CARES Money Act.
Yes.
They still have a lot of money that they could be distributing to businesses if businesses would step up and apply for it.
Yeah. And Laura, you want to give an update on where we're at on ours?
So for the CARES funding, we are working with the port for up to $500,000 in CARES funding. And our application, I would say, was fairly open. It's up to $10,000 per business. Up to 25 employees, which I think has been the highest threshold. It is not a reimbursement type grant where some of the other ones where you'd have to file the expenses and it was a lot of back and forth. On our version, you self-attest to the different things that you would be expending or have expended on. And so we really try to streamline the application. I know that at the same time, Chelan and Douglas counties also came out with CARES funding. And so I think all of the programs have been like slowly trickling in with applications. So it's definitely not been a ton of them. I know the port was doing some radio ads. Linda Haglund sent out another email. I know we reached out to businesses locally as well to try to get them to apply and let them know the new parameters. As of now, I believe we've approved about $180,000 worth of grants. But we have to close it on the 30th.
Right.
Because we have to allow the port, then that then allows the port 2 weeks to close out their programs because they have to do contracts and checks.
Right, right.
And then they have to submit those expenses to the city. And so really the 30th is kind of the drop dead deadline for our
30th of
program.
October?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
And that
if
probably is the
anybody,
same for
if
the other
anybody
ones.
knows businesses that have not gotten on board with this,
Yeah.
encourage them to get it out there because,
I know I saw it on Facebook,
Yep,
like
we had it on
one
Facebook,
time. I think we need to reshare it.
Okay.
'Cause
yeah, could we do that
I
again?
saw it on Facebook a little while back and shared it, but we need to redo that.
And the consensus of the group was, we really don't want to give this money back. Nobody does, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, it's not going to go back. It's going to go to our general fund. But the idea is we want to get this $500,000 out. And so we'll work as hard as we can. We're approving them. Laura and I look at the grants about every third day. So I think it was yesterday or the day before, we gave the port a list of $180,000 to fund. And we're funding just about everybody that applies. Yeah, there, you look at a full-service restaurant versus a sole practitioner or somebody, and you may say that one gets 10 and this one gets 2,500, based on just trying to scale it, because you want to make sense but so we're looking at them and trying to, we don't overanalyze them, but just sort of making sure that it sort of makes some common sense. And our goal is to get every penny of that out. So the port's been good. You get a list from them every day?
They send us the applications every week.
Okay.
And then with an updated log to kind of show us the tracking. So they've been very active about getting that to us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, so we're trying to push that out as fast as we can. Anybody else, Linda?
No meetings this week for Low Barrier.
Okay.
We're rescheduling.
Okay.
There's
Yeah.
been some
I
changes.
did get an interesting phone call and a bit of a discussion from the county commissioners. There's apparently someone dropped a bill last year sort of for affordable housing that would add another $2 to the hotel motel tax. It could be used for, not say low-income housing, but workforce housing, something similar to the 1590 funds or 1509 funds, whatever those are. So they've asked us to support it. I sort of told them that I was more inclined to do is it 1509 or 1590?
15.
The 1590 funds, which is the 1/10 throughout the county, get you way more money than another 2/10 on hotels. So I think they're meeting with the mayor of Leavenworth and maybe Chelan and other folks. And
What's the nexus between hotel and this?
I'm assuming they're thinking these are the VRBOs, although they're going to get everybody. And if you got a VRBO that's being taken off of the housing market, that's increasing the price of housing. So then tax those people who stay in VRBOs so that we can get a pot of money to help on the other side. I'm more inclined just to do the 1509 funds countywide or two countywide. They've given us the tool. So anyhow, that was just a conversation they're having, and we're still working on the GL contract. At this point, it looks like we're going to go into some sort of arbitration. So we're relatively close on the numbers. The methodology just doesn't work for us. So it's more of a methodology issue at this point than it is a math issue. But it's a little bit of both. So hopeful we'll get to the finish line with them. Ruth, Jim?
Oh, I was going to mention that Linda and I attended a Women's in Politics forum over Zoom with the museum.
Oh, how'd that go?
It went well.
Good.
It was really good. It was inspiring
What a
to
great
see.
group of
Yeah,
I saw your pictures, and that was a great group of women.
Yeah. So if you didn't check it out live, then I invite you to go look at it. It's on the museum Facebook page.
Yeah, it's also on YouTube.
Yeah.
And speaking of the museum opened this week.
Yes, I heard
And
that.
next week for members only,
Okay.
under protocols, and then beginning the 3rd of November, visitors will be allowed, again, under the Safe Start protocol.
Okay. Social Security has officially moved out over here. They're in their new facility. So if you're around sometime and grab the key, we'll walk you back there and show you the space they vacated. But pretty nice space. Yep. It'll be good for something at some point. And I don't think we really have any updates on downstairs and what we're doing. I think staff is still trying to contemplate what to do with all of that. Our budget, I think, is just about wrapped up. You'll see it here in the next week or two. Adoption November 5th. Looks like the final budget will be sort of about $400,000 out of balance. Sort of 3 or 4 issues that are still outstanding. The jail issue is still outstanding. We have 2 union contracts that haven't been settled yet, so we're sort of waiting to see where those will probably both settle after we adopt. And now I'm spending a little bit of time on the Rivercom. They've really got quite a bit of money they've set aside over the last 4 or 5 years, and trying to figure out if they can take a 1-year holiday from setting aside money to help us balance a budget. So I'll be working with them over the next couple of weeks to see if we can accomplish something close to that. So, and all of those have effect on our budget, right? The Rivercom would, if they reduce the numbers, would lower our deficit some. So they all have small little, most of them we have budgeted to some extent, but and if we end up with a $400,000 or $500,000 upside down, we'll just use our general fund reserves to make that happen. We won't need to use the rainy day fund. I think we've got enough in general fund reserves to just sort of work our way through it, leave the rainy day fund right where it's at.
Ruth, has there been any more discussion about Rivercom building something or finding a new facility?
It's in the works, definitely.
It's clear from the last meeting that they're out looking for land.
Yes.
So they've looked at some parcels of property, which I think is fine. And if you end up buying a piece of property, I wouldn't lose any sleep over that. They've got, last I looked at the end of the 2019, they had about $12 million in various reserve accounts. I think if you looked at the 2019 budget, they were setting aside $500,000 for a building fund and $500,000 for an equipment replacement or some form of that. So in 2019, they added $2.2 million to the reserve balance total. So just making sure that, again, I'm okay with that group, thinking ahead and wanting to do that. Yet here's a time when we're struggling financially. Is this still another year to put another $2 million into your reserve account, or can you just put $1 million into it and give us $1 million reduction in user fees? And if that's the case for the city, we're not quite a third of it. We're probably 25% of the call volume. So that would reduce our Rivercom bill by $250,000 for 1 year. Be nice to do when COVID's out here to help us sort of work our way through that. So that's going to be my request. There's 5 voting members, and I need 3 votes to make that happen. So as Ruth is looking at me saying, Mayor, you're barking up the wrong tree, but I will not.
I just think that certain board members have made up their mind that
Yes.
this is going to happen and
Right.
nothing's going to derail it.
Yeah, no, but again, if it's a $30 or $40 million building they're going to build in 4 or 5 years, does $1 million in 2021 really going to affect that?
Oh, no, there's plans to do it within like the next year or two.
Yeah.
And,
But what,
you know,
wasn't the building plan for $30 million or something?
no, they're thinking that, again, when I say there's certain board members that think that they can do this with the money they have in the pot right now.
Oh, okay.
Very ambitious,
Right.
And they're not following a study that they paid good money to have done. If you look at the recommendations for the facility that needed to be built, or if they found a building and modified it, it was quite extensive.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I'll just do the best I
Pretty
can.
ambitious, but we'll
Yeah.
see, yeah.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yep. Well, all I can do is ask. Yeah. All right. Anything else for the good of the order? All right. So no meeting next week, and we have a special meeting on the 5th. All right. We're adjourned.